harmonium is coming there. It's not working properly. The other one is coming.
Oh, the other one's coming.
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't see it. Okay, the other one's coming. Yeah, it's a bit of a bad note. That. Do we know who printed the Damodarastakam sheets?
Yeah,
Abhi? Where is he? I don't see him. Is he there? No, I'm just saying we could maybe print them a little smaller. Should know it, of course, but yeah, should just need to glance at it. But anyway, there we go. No, it's okay, just... Namam Swaram Sachiranandarupam Rasa Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Namam Yashoda Biyalukaladavamanam Param Rishtamayam Tato Dujjagobhya Yashoda Rudam Jantam Karamboja Yurmena Satanganetam Rudam Muswasa Kampatira Kankakanta Stitagriram Damodaram Bhaktivedam Iti Driksvalila Birananda Kunde Svagosham Nimajantam Akyapayantam Bhaktivedanta Puna Prema Chastam Sata Vritti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadim Va Nachanyam Vrineham Varishadapiha Idam Deva Punata Vaparabalam Sadame Manacha Virastam Kimanyai Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhuka Jalabhimagnam Vipadisirishyati Dinamadanu Vihane Shamama Gyame Achidisha Kuveratna Jobadha Muchevayadvat Vayamachita Bhakti Vajokitocha Tata Prema Bhakti Swakame Payacha Namo Kshatraho Mesti Damodareha Namaste Sudamne Spuradiptidamne Pariyodarayata Vishvasadamne Namo Rarikaya Tvariya Priyaya Namo Nandalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Chirananda Rupam Rasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yacharaviya Lugaladavamanam Namo Nandalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare.
Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharaya Asto Tadasada Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Iskcon Founder Acharaya Srila Prabhupada Ki All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. We read the translation. I read the first one. So just the translation of the beautiful bhajan that we just sang. Not that I sang it beautifully, but it's still a beautiful bhajan. Actually, it's one of the oldest songs that we have in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. It actually goes back over 5,000 years. Whereas most of the bhajans that we have in the songbook are more contemporary, from sort of 500 years ago, 100 years ago, that type of thing. Excuse me. But this one is a very, very old one. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokul, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Oh, sorry.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls round his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastime as he is drowning in the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued by intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I will not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bal Gopala in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon beside this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tied with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me by showering your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant youth who is immersed in a ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodara, just as the 6 sons of Suvegamani Viva in Narakuvara were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in the 480 times before with a wooden riding water. In the same way, please give me you all prema bhakti. I only long and humbly desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisance to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisance to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisance to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes.
Damodarastakam Ghee Lamp.
Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gaudavani Pracharane Nivashesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauda Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Om Ajana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Nanopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayarupa Gadamayam Dharati Swabharatikam. Hare Krishna, everybody. This month of Damodar, as you all know, is considered to be a very, very auspicious month. Of course, Srila Prabhupada did once say that for devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness, that it doesn't really matter for them because they're doing service all the time anyway. But for people who like to get a bargain in a sale, then Damodarastakam is the Krishna conscious version of that. Come to the temple in the month of Damodar and you'll get a good deal in terms of making advancement in Krishna consciousness. So today is within the month of Damodar is also an incredibly special day because it's the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, who, at least in the Gregorian calendar, left on the 14th of November. I think today's the 16th, but just the way things fall, in 1977. And the first thought that crossed my mind today when I knew I was speaking was that Srila Prabhupada appeared the day after Janmashtami. So we celebrate his appearance day every year, right after Janmashtami, and that festival is quite an incredible festival. Janmashtami one day, Srila Prabhupada's appearance day the next. And then he departed in the month of Damodar. You know, we know that there are no coincidences in Krishna consciousness, there's no coincidences in life. Not a blade of grass moves, Srila Prabhupada said this many times, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Supreme. Quite an incredible thing that, and quite a incredible realization. First off, quite incredible information to be able to access. And then once you access the information, it's quite an incredible realization to understand that, that not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Supreme. How many blades of grass are there on the planet? We have no idea. But I guess your average calculator would not be able to list the amount of blades of grass that exist on this planet. Yet not one of them moves. And when a gust of wind comes, all the grass in the field will kind of move. But not any of those blades of grass are moving without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. I heard recently, by the way, that, just because I mentioned the wind, I heard recently that whenever it's a windy day, and obviously the windier the day is, the more relevant this dynamic is, that school children are much more difficult to manage for teachers. And that's known across the teaching industry. I only heard it very recently. I didn't know that. Because wind, of course, one of Krishna's material elements, is a unsettling force. And particularly the stronger the wind is, the more unsettling it is. So it's just interesting that it has that subtle impact on children, that they become unsettled themselves. So all these things are happening on a kind of... our tendency is that we're fairly good at assimilating knowledge on the gross level. But even then, it's only within the purview that we see that gross activity. We can't see through walls, we can't whatever. We can't hear beyond whatever it is, 100 meters or something. So even that is limited, our growth. But on the subtle level, we're so much more inept at understanding what's going on. And Srila Prabhupada said on his spiritual master's Disappearance Day one time, I think in 1979, maybe it was 1969, anyway, 69, 70, that kind of time, on his own spiritual master's Disappearance Day, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, who knew that I would meet my spiritual master? Because again, if you look at it from a relative point of view, it was innocuous. Prabhupada was invited to go to a talk of his spiritual master. He could have said, I'm busy today. When someone asks you to do something and you say, gosh, I can't do that, I'm too busy, or not interested, or whatever the case may be. But no, Srila Prabhupada was invited and he chose to go. So Prabhupada is saying, who knew that I would ever even meet my spiritual master? Who knew when I met him that I would actually accept him as my spiritual master? Who knew after accepting him as my spiritual master that I would then be given the instruction from him to spread this movement in the English-speaking world? And who knew when I was given that order that I would be able to fulfill it? Because actually he got that order in 1922, but as we know, Srila Prabhupada didn't actually set sail on the Jaladuta till 1965. So what's that, 43 years later. So who knew that even getting that order from my spiritual master, that I would be able to take it and try to make it happen? And who knew that when I tried to make it happen, that we would achieve success? Who knew that all you boys and girls would come and help me in this great mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So there are so many variables and so many things that could have happened or couldn't have happened, and all these different even at the time that Prabhupada came, if you actually study it, and you can study it on Mr. Google, just prior to Srila Prabhupada coming to America in 65, 66, the American government changed their visa requirements for Indians to get into America. If Prabhupada had gone on that boat or tried to come to America a year earlier, if it had been 64 and not 65, he wouldn't have had a snowball's chance in hell, as we say, of actually getting a visa and gaining entry into America. So even the timing, all of these things. And there's this wonderful verse that you've probably heard me quote many times from Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Nayasha kahi chidrajan. And it is Yudhishthira Maharaj asking Bhishmadev about what's happened here. This battle of Kurukshetra, now you're on this bed of arrows. What is going on? It's like the world has just been completely turned upside down. I mean, who's behind this? What's happening? And Bhishmadev's response was, Nayasha Kaichidraja, no one knows the plan of the Lord. And even though great sages have meditated on it millennium after millennium after millennium, they are none the wiser. So we don't know. We're outside the room. Actually, even if we were inside the room, we probably wouldn't understand anyway, but we're outside the room. We don't know what's going on these higher levels, what's behind it, etc. So Srila Prabhupada, yes, and just before I get into that, just to say one other thing, is that prior to Srila Prabhupada coming, and obviously doing all that he did, one of the things that he did was he established the BBT, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and through the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, He translated so many books and had them produced, published, printed and distributed. There's very little evidence of anyone, certainly in the Western world, but even within modern day India, there's very little evidence that anybody, even though there were unlimited, practically speaking, Bhagavad Gitas available for people to read and whatever, there's very little evidence of anyone ever taking chapter 18, verse 66 and living it as part of their life. Who wants to quote me 1866? And it's very interesting the word Vraj is in there, by the way. It's very interesting because it's not in the anyway. And the translation, Bruce? For the audience?
All religions and surrender.
So we want everyone to hear.
Abandon all religions and surrender unto me.
Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Now, what's really interesting there that needs clarification, when Prabhupada uses the word religion, he is not talking about, he is also talking about Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. He is talking about those things, but he's talking about a lot more besides. So in our modern society, it's the religion of football, or the religion of cricket. Look at these guys laughing as soon as I said that. Quoting Shastra, now can you give me the result of India's last cricket match? No, I don't want the result of it. So the religion of sport, the religion of politics, the religion of drug taking. I just saw when I was coming in there, the big sign up, one of these electronic signs saying HSE urgent warning. There's some bad heroin travelling the streets of Dublin at the moment. So if any of you are taking heroin, make sure you're careful. No. So the religion of all of these things is essentially the religion of materialism. That is what Krishna is talking about in that verse. Abandon all varieties of religion. And it is essentially the religion of materialism. But prior to Srila Prabhupada coming to the West, there's very little evidence that anyone was taking that verse seriously. So it's quite interesting. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada came, and as I said, we don't know who he was. Who was this personality? Who actually was Srila Prabhupada? It's like, if you just study his life, it's just sort of inconceivable as to who he might be, actually. But one thing we do know is that he was 100% empowered by Krishna. That's what we can, safely conclude. So, there's this phrase that is attributed to a person called was it John Chartes? I think John Chartes in the 12th century, and he had this phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants. But then in the 1700s, it was made famous by Isaac Newton, who quoted it in a letter when he was being glorified by some organization, and he wrote back and responded and said, "If I have achieved anything, if I have seen further than others, it is simply because I have stood on the shoulders of giants." So he's giving credit to the people who preceded him. Actually, Socrates also said, quite amazing when we understand from Bhagavad Gita, that the first principle of knowledge, in order for us to be able to become knowledgeable, the first principle is humility. And Socrates said, "The only thing I know is I know nothing. And I am very wise and very intelligent simply because I know nothing." And that should be really all of humankind's understanding and position that we take. We know nothing. And we literally know nothing. Our senses can perceive an incredibly limited amount of knowledge and information. So we should never get carried away and think somehow or another, we know everything, or we're super intelligent, or whatever the case may be. One of the biggest obstacles to making progress in spiritual life is the quality of ahankara, or false ego. And false ego is basically the understanding that we have that we think we know something when we absolutely know absolutely nothing. And it blocks us from surrendering, this verse, it blocks us from surrendering to Krishna because we think we know something. Why should I surrender to this person? Why should I surrender to anybody? You know, who is this person that I should surrender to like that? So, yes, so Srila Prabhupada, the way that we become knowledgeable, if you like, and understand it in the right context, and we can read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., is that we are standing on the giant that is Srila Prabhupada. We're standing on his shoulders. That may be offensive to do that literally, by the way, but metaphorically, we're standing on Srila Prabhupada's shoulders like that. And we owe everything to him. We'd not be in this room tonight. This room wouldn't exist. Well, the room would exist, but it wouldn't be a Hare Krishna temple. Without Srila Prabhupada. And even that is amazing. Prabhupada left in 1977, so what's that now? 51. Oh, so is it 51?
77. 46.
I'm looking at all you guys because you're supposed to be brilliant at maths, you know.
46.
46. Manu had it for you way ahead of you. Way ahead of you, you know. Old enough to be a father, you know, and he's sharp as a button. So 46, was it? 46 years. So 46 years later, Prabhupada never set foot in the Republic of Ireland. He never set foot in Northern Ireland either, actually, for that matter. He never set foot in Ireland, Srila Prabhupada. Yet 46 years after he has left, he now has a temple in his honour. Of course, it's in Lord Chaitanya's honour as well, but also in Srila Prabhupada's honour. That is what we call Shakti, or power, influence like that. So what I wanted to do now, and why I have these sheets in front of me, is I just wanted to go through some of the things that Srila Prabhupada did and achieved, and also to understand that why did he do that? Like that sign I just saw when I was coming here this evening about the dodgy heroin that's circulating in Dublin at the minute. That's why Prabhupada did it. To come and save people from suffering. The reason they have that sign up is because if you take some of that stuff, you're a very good chance you're going to die. And death is kind of the essential quality of suffering. You know, you don't really get too many more, except for toothaches. But, you know, death is like the ultimate in suffering, if you like. So that's why Srila Prabhupada came. That also amazes me, because of course it amazes me because I don't have that quality of selflessness. But why would someone at the age of 70 come on a rubbish boat, a cargo boat, wasn't even a, you know, I mean, how did you get here, Abai, when you came to Ireland? Plane. How did you get? Well, I know you get the plane, Sugat. You never get off planes, you know. I travel around Europe, you know, and every time I'm in an airport, I'm looking around for Sugat. There's a good chance he'll pop up somewhere. You know? So, plane. How did you get here, Ru? Plane. All the comforts of a plane, huh? You know. Can you imagine getting a boat from India? You're laughing. And then can you imagine not just getting a boat, but a cargo boat? It's not even a passenger boat, it's a cargo boat. You're in with a cargo. Can you imagine? So Prabhupada, how old are you, Sugati?
29.
29. You need to do some exercise because you look 55. Okay. So, 29, okay? So you are less than half Srila Prabhupada's age. I'm 62, so I'm 7 years younger than when Prabhupada set journey. And I know when I get up from this position in a few minutes, whenever it is, when I get up from this position, it will take my legs and my knees, you know, however long to realize that they have to walk again, you know, because they've been sitting down here for like 45 minutes. So Srila Prabhupada was 7 years older than me when he got on that boat, on a cargo boat, to come to the West. He had two what are described as severe heart attacks on that boat on the way over. So, you know, you can kind of understand, or I should say I can kind of understand because of my materialistic mind, I can understand, well, I might do that if at the end of it someone's going to give me a big fat check and it's worth my while to have done that. But of course that had nothing, that wasn't even, you know, entered, the remote recesses of Prabhupada's thought process. No, the reason he did that was simply to come to stop the heroin addicts of Dublin from suffering. Plus everyone else from suffering, not just them, but it's just to give an example. Look what's going on in, we have many Ukrainian devotees now in Ireland. Look what's going on in their country and the suffering that they're experiencing. Look what's going on in the Middle East right now. But they're just modern political examples we can relate to. Every nook and cranny of life and society that you delve into, people are suffering. And their suffering is only going to get worse. That's the amazing thing. Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, from the highest planet in the material world down to the very lowest, all are places of suffering. Why? Because it's where repeated birth and death take place. And that's the problem. So it doesn't matter if you've got your mansion out in Foxrock and you've got your 3 cars in the driveway and they're all electric, and it doesn't matter if you can take 3 months holiday a year and go to some wonderful destination. All of these things, you have to die. And actually, just like the earlier point about false ego and thinking we know things being an impediment to making progress in spiritual life, a comfortable material life adds to the illusion that somehow or another I can be happy. So in that sense, sometimes it's much better if you are actually suffering in the material. We all suffer in the material, but at least it's what you might call visceral suffering, that it's really real and tangible and it's right in front of your eyeballs, because it can give you an impetus to look for something, to solve that problem. So that's why Srila Prabhupada came. He didn't know all these people. Who are these people that are suffering in the Western world? He's never left India. Why should he care about them? Why should he put his own life at risk, 2 heart attacks on the way over, for people he's never met, doesn't know? He didn't have to do it. It wasn't that someone had a gun to his head telling him to do it. He didn't have to do it. He was living, at the time, he was living in Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. What was he doing every day? He was studying Shastra, chanting Hare Krishna in the holy land of Krishna, where Krishna appeared. That's what he was doing. He was 70 years of age. He was going to leave his body in the not too distant future. And he's in the perfect place in the entire universe to do that. And yet he gets up, gets on a dodgy old cargo boat, takes a 6-week journey across to a place he'd never been in before. Within 3 months, because he came at a bad time actually, because he came in September, within 3 months he was having to endure the New York winter. And there's one nice description in the Lilamrita where it says, one day when Prabhupada was walking to the shop to buy some vegetables, the temperature was -6 or -7 or something, but with the wind chill factor, it was -30. Prabhupada's coming from India. He's you see the brahmacharis in Mayapur. I could never get over this. You go to Mangalarti in Mayapur, and it's like already at Mangalarti time 4:30 like that. Already it's kind of like 12 degrees, maybe even 15 degrees, And you see all the brahmacharis got their big scarves on and woolly hats, big coats, And look and think, I'm just going around, I don't even have a jacket on, just walking around the kurta, nothing else. I'm already sweating, It's like, whatever. And it's like these guys are wrapped up to the hilt. It's like, what's your problem, lads? You should go to Ireland. You'll figure out what you're going to wear then. So here's Prabhupada coming from India. And suddenly he's experiencing -30 degrees, and you see the picture of him walking through the streets, he's got his dhoti, it's like a flimsy little skinny dhoti, So he's performing all these austerities. Then even, he's literally like, what do they call them? Sofa surfers. Prabhupada's like the original sofa surfer when he arrives in New York, and he's trying to find somewhere to stay. He hasn't got any, when he first went, of course, he had the contact of the Dr. Agarwal and Sally Agarwal, who will forever be remembered on that video. It's just absolutely brilliant. What is your abiding memory of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada? And she thinks for a second, like a split second, and then she says, oh, his smile was oceanic. She just remembers Prabhupada's beaming smile, And there's that beautiful picture with her, when he's with her daughter or son, I'm not sure if it's a daughter or son, is it? Yeah. When he's with the toddler, and he's just, it's amazing. So his smile was oceanic. So he had that contact when he first went, but then it was amazing. Now he's 70 years of age, whatever. And he's sitting there in Butler, Pennsylvania, And she'd organise some programs when we went to some, so I think he went to some, what's the one we went to, the women's knitting club, was it, or something like that. You just imagine all these women doing their knitting, and Prabhupada sitting there explaining Krishna consciousness to them, So Prabhupada realised that, he wasn't really going to make much progress in Butler, Pennsylvania, trying to spread this movement, even though he had somewhere to stay and he has some support. So what does he do? He goes to New York City, Lower East Side of New York City. Doesn't know anybody, whatever, so he has to sort of, quote unquote, bum around to sort of, get himself. So at one point he's in Dr. Mishra's ashram, and he goes out for a walk or whatever he goes out for. He comes back, someone's broken into his room and stolen his dictaphone that he's using to translate the Bhagavatam. And someone's stolen it, and you would kind of think, at that point, Prabhupada would look up to the skies and think, hey Krishna, what's going on here? Come on, I'm here on your behalf, you're in control, I've come all the way, I'm 70, and now you've had someone steal my dictaphone, what's going on, Krishna? Sort yourself out. Incredible, just these incredible sacrifices that this personality made for us. I mean, that's the thing, he made these sacrifices for us. And if there's one thing that we ever do, whatever happens to us in our life, and whatever hardships befall us, or wonderful things that befall us, or whatever happens to us in our life, if we can just retain that sense of gratitude to Prabhupada for what he's actually given us. And as I say, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have this room, wouldn't be here, nothing would be here if he hadn't made that journey in 1965. So now I just want to go through some of the things. And of course, also to quote, by the way, he reasons ill who thinks that Vaishnavas die when they are living in sound. A Vaishnava, such an important, this is Bhaktivedanta Thakur, such an important few words this. A Vaishnava, or a devotee, dies to live. Dies to live. So Prabhupada's departure in that sense is a glorious thing. Yes, we would love Prabhupada still to be with us physically, absolutely. I've got a list on my computer of I think it's something like 125 questions that I would like to ask Prabhupada if he ever came back. So yes, we'd love to still have Prabhupada physically with us, but at the same time his departure is glorious, And it's the same for all of us, that this temporary material world, as I've spoken earlier, I mean, even that, just take from Bhagavad Gita, that Lord Brahma's life, who's the original living entity in the material world, if you like. He lives to 311 trillion, 240 million. You sure? Yes? You sure? I thought it was 800, but anyway, that's maybe 840. Anyway. So 311, let's just round it off to 312 trillion years. It's just inconceivable for us. There's someone living in this world, or in this universe, that lives for 312 trillion years. So this life we have, of what? The Bible tells us 70. That's gone up a little bit now. 310 is 70. So that's gone up a little bit now. I think men, their average age is 77. Women, I think, is 82. Is it something like that? But it's only gone up because they can keep you alive on machines. Really, it's no great thing, really. Whatever. But anyway, so our little short lifetime, don't take it seriously, except for to engage in Krishna's service. That absolutely, from that point of view, we take it seriously. But from every other point of view, it's fleeting. It's gone before we know it. It's over like that. So, Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. So that goes back to the point that the one thing that we should do, these lives are inconsequential, even trivial, irrelevant. When you think about it, all the billions of people that have had a human birth in the last, let's say 500 years since Lord Chaitanya's time. There's just been hundreds of billions of human beings, and a handful of them will still be known or remembered, like Isaac Newton, or whoever it might be. So literally in comparison to the numbers of people who've lived in this world and passed, so it's inconsequential. We shouldn't get hung up with it, except for while we're living, we try to spread the holy name around. We try to help Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya push on the movement of Krishna consciousness. So, let's go through some of them. Some of them we've talked about. So in 1965, at 70, his first time out of India to fulfill his Guru Maharaj's order. 2 heart attacks. And the other thing, he arrived in New York with the equivalent of $7. $7. you know. How many of you go shopping, whether it's for food or whether it's for clothes or whatever it might be? How many of you go shopping with the equivalent of €5 in your pocket? How many of you would feel a little insecure only having €5 in your pocket, no bank account, no assets? Because Prabhupada had no assets, nothing, absolutely nothing. You know, how many of you would feel a little uncomfortable in that situation? So you wouldn't. Okay, so $7, and you know what? He could have come with $14. But on the, what do you call it, the rampart? Is that what we call the thing, the rampart that goes from the land to the boat? On the rampart, as he put his first foot on the rampart of the boat, he was with his son. And I heard this from his son's own lips. We had the 50th celebration in I hate saying Kolkata, you know, and that's a made-up one, you know. Like Mumbai isn't, and Bengaluru isn't, and Chennai isn't, but Kolkata's made up. You know, Calcutta, we'll call it Kolkata, you know, come on, you know. I mean, get on to Mamata Banerjee, get on a case, you know. Okay, so on the rampart, his son was there. So we had this festival, the 50th anniversary back a few years, and his son was at the festival, and he spoke, and he said, when my father put his first foot on that rampart, he turned to me, and he looked at me, he put his hand in his pocket, and he took out all the money he had, in rupees. It was, what did he say it was in rupees? I can't remember. That's the $7 though, right? Yeah, so he had 80 rupees, and he took 40 of it, and he gave it to his son. So even going off to America on his journey, you know, he's giving half of the only thing that he had of, you know, of material value, if you like. Okay, so second one, he found Iskcon, and this is important. After a year of struggling alone, all on his own in a foreign land, struggling alone. Yet within, it's actually less than a year. He arrived in September 1965. He founded Iskcon in July 1966. So what's that? I'll ask Manu because you'll get it all wrong, you'll figure it all out. Manu, was that 9 months? So within 9 months, he has founded Iskcon. And the founding of Iskcon, of course, means that you have to create a legal entity. How many of you have ever been a director or a trustee of a legal entity? Well, I know you have, Manu, you're not putting your hand up, I had as well. Who? Ah, okay. You have to become a trustee or a director of a legal entity to know what the hassle is that involves. It's an absolute nightmare. And for us to do it here in Ireland, for me to do it here in Ireland, as an Irish person, with English being my first language, makes it somewhat easier. English wasn't Prabhupada's first language. You know, the culture and the laws and the legal system, America wasn't even part of the Commonwealth. So all that was different than what Prabhupada would be used to in India. Yet within 9 months, a man at the age of 70, 71 years of age has founded a legal entity in New York City. Quite incredible. Okay. He's the first person ever to successfully make and train non-Indians in the strict discipline of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Never done before in the history of mankind, but Prabhupada did that. He organized, obviously with his disciples, and you know, there's that lovely verse that I've slipped my mind now. If I get the first word, I'll remember it. Ekakya Mara. Yeah, go ahead. Nahi Bhai Bolo. Yeah. Krishna Harinam Sankirtane. The Lord Chaitanya, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's even more than the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he's a combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya himself said, I cannot spread this movement on my own. I need the help of others. So there's two things about that. One is that the movement won't spread without the help of others, so you won't be successful. But the second part, of course, is you want to engage as many people as possible in Krishna's service. That's what you want to do. You know, we don't want to be, you know, we don't want to have a closed door here, close the door, the room's full, close the door. No, you want as many people as possible to get involved. Prabhupada said he built a house in which the whole world can live. So, Ekakya. So with the help of his disciples, his followers, Srila Prabhupada, he sent them out on Harinam, on Kirtan. And basically now you have Kirtan on the 5 continents of the globe. And in that sense, and I say this a little reluctantly, I was going to say, and Hare Krishna is famous all over the world. But you will still find many, having said that, you will still find many people who have never heard of Hare Krishna, who have never heard of Krishna. So, Prabhupada said that. He said, I have done my best, but there's lots more work for all of you to do. Like that. I don't know what time do I have, it won't be too long, but I was on a plane one time, maybe 20 years ago. I also didn't get the boat to India. I was on the plane, and there was lots of devotees on the plane, which there literally was, about 20 devotees. I flew over from here to London and got on at Heathrow, British Airways flight direct to Calcutta. It was the only direct Calcutta flight at the time from London. But lots of devotees had done that from America, from other parts of Europe, you know. So the next thing was the 20-odd devotees on the plane. There was Mahaduri, Maharaj now, there was Vrinda Swarup Prabhu, Brahmaharta Prabhu, you know, there was a whole load of devotees, you know. Absolutely great. Absolutely great from the point of view that when I get on a plane and there's other devotees on the plane, the first thought that comes into my mind, I go, whew, I'm safe. You know, Krishna probably wouldn't have a problem with this plane going down with just me on it, but when he's got all these other devotees on it, he's hardly going to take that plane down, you know. So anyway, my wife had made me, because it's a long haul flight, my wife had made me some lovely prasadam. You know, so she made me like puris and kachoris, samosas, she made me some avocado dips and this dip and that dip, you know, it was like great kind of thing. That was the downside, because then I thought to myself, when I start eating this prasadam, I'm going to have to offer the devotees something, you know. So that's what I did. As soon as the seatbelt sign went out, I'm going around the plane to all the different devotees. Bro, would you like some prasadam? You know, and every single one of them said yes. You know, it's like, it's like, you know, not even one of them said no. You know, oh, I've just had my breakfast, Prabhu. No chance. You know. So they all took it. You know. I come back to my seat, and I'm sitting in an aisle seat. So there's the aisle, and then on the seat opposite me, on the other side, is a girl, a young girl. She looked maybe late teens, early 20s at the most. And just as I sat down, with my last few morsels, I think I had about 1 puri left, I think I maybe had a kashori and a bit of a dip. That's what I had left, you know. Just put it down, put the tray table down, you know, put it on there, you know. She says to me, excuse me, sir, what was that you were doing, you know, when I was going around the plane? And I said, I just had some nice vegetarian food, you know, and I know these people, so I was just seeing if they wanted anything, you know. And then I made the biggest mistake of all. I said, would you like some? She says, oh, if you don't mind. And then my mind's going, of course I mind. So then I gave her all of my pajamas. That was it. But I then, why was I telling that story? Oh yeah, so then I got into a conversation with her, because that's literally just a takeoff from London. The flight is I think it's about a 9-hour flight, something like that. That's correct. Is this okay? Yeah, thank you.
I never
Oh, you go to Delhi, right? Oh yeah, smoggy Delhi, you know. So we're flying over. The whole way over, I'm in a conversation with her. So the first thing she asked me was, and who are you? What are you? Because I was wearing devotional clothes. Who are you? What are you? You know. And then she did the classic, you know. She was doubtful because it's the wrong color, but she said, are you a Buddhist? You know. So I grabbed the prasadam back, punched her in the nose, and said, don't call me a Buddhist. And I said, so the Buddhists, you know, they are quote unquote famous, you know. And I said, no. I said, well, Hare Krishnas. And she says, Hare what? You know, never heard of the Hare Krishnas, you know. And she was with a group of friends on the plane as well. They were from a Sunday school, or church basically, in either Detroit or Chicago, I can't remember, but either Detroit or Chicago. And they were going over on their holidays to help Mother Teresa and the Mother Teresa organization do whatever they do for the children. So they were doing charity work in that sense, something which is nice, you know, but never heard of the Hare Krishnas. She's going to India and she's never heard of the Hare Krishnas, you know. So there's loads of people out there that have never heard of Krishna, never heard of Prabhupada, never heard of this incredible jewel, this most precious of precious things that has been given to us, handed down, of course, ultimately from Krishna, but through Srila Prabhupada to us. And our only payment that Prabhupada expects of us is that we hand it to other people, as many as we possibly can. That's the only thing. So she'd never heard. So yeah, so even though we're famous on one level, on another level we're not. Next one, his London disciples. His London disciples recorded a hit record. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I grew up watching Top of the Pops, as I guess Jai Jagannath Prabhu did as well, right? Come on, tell me. We even have a devotee who appeared on Top of the Pops a few times. Sugar baby love. That was Jayadev in the band called the Rubettes. But anyway, grew up on that, right? Watching Top. In those days, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have mobile phones, so you had your television, and you had maybe at best, was it 4 stations? We used to have something like that, 4 or 5 stations at most, so it was kind of concentrated in that sense. So Top of the Pops was like that big thing of the week, hearing all the new songs or whatever it might be. So we were on Top of the Pops. Got to number 12 in the charts in the UK, and got to number 3, I think, in Czechoslovakia at the time, and was a top 10 hit in many. Actually, I'll tell you another funny story about that, actually, because when your song is the Hare Krishna mantra, there's kind of there is a beginning in the sense you start, like we start tonight, but there's kind of no end, Like pop songs normally they're 3 minutes, they've got a beginning, a middle, and an end, But with the Hare Krishna mantra, you don't really have that. And years ago, we were on the Late Late Show when Gay Byrne was doing it. And the first thing that the devotees did when they went on was they chanted Hare Krishna. And of course they would have just gone on for the whole program, And at one point Gabriel had to get up out of his seat, and said, okay, stop. It was quite funny. Anyway, so we had a hit record in London in 1969. And of course it was George Harrison was the person who really helped us with that. What else do we have? He initiated approximately 5,000 disciples. And they were all from diverse nationalities, races, ethnicities, and religious backgrounds. In that sense, and Prabhupada talks about the United Nations. That's Krishna consciousness is the real United Nations, simply because we're identifying on the platform of the soul, and we are all equal on that level. There is no material difference like that. So 5,000 disciples. He opened 108 temples on 6 continents, and he established Radha Krishna deities in nearly all of those places. And between 1970 and 71, in 1 year, Prabhupada opened 32 temples, which 3 12s is 36, so basically 3 a month. Sugati's just checking on his phone, 3 12s is 36. Please don't get Sugati to do the books, Manavru. We'll be bankrupt in no time. 3 temples a month between 1970 and 71. He also held the first Ratha Yatra outside of Hare Krishna, outside of India. So until Prabhupada came to the West, Ratha Yatras had only ever taken place in India, and actually, I'm not even sure how many would have taken place outside of Puri, really, but certainly none took place outside of India. And now there are Ratha Yatras in, I don't know how many Ratha Yatras we have now, but it's hundreds and hundreds of Ratha Yatras that we have every year now. In the UK alone, I think we have something like 12 Ratha Yatras just in the UK, and we have one here, of course, and one in Belfast. So even just on this British Isles, we have something like 15 Ratha Yatras. So there's hundreds and hundreds of Ratha Yatras every single year. But Prabhupada was the first one in 1969, right, in New York City. Yeah, in 1969 in New York City. And by the way, just a little piece of information on that. I'm almost reluctant to say this because, I don't want to give any credit. But anyway, there you go. We needed somewhere to park the first Ratha Yatra that they were constructing for the very first Ratha Yatra. Well, the first one was in San Francisco, sorry. The second one was in New York. And the one in New York, we needed somewhere to put the cart and build it and all of that. And Donald Trump's organization allowed us to put it on there. They had some space there at the time. They allowed us to put it on that, So he'll get some benefit. He'll get a lot of discredits, but he'll get some benefit. First Ratha Yatra. He instituted the Brahmacharini ashram. That was unheard of in Vedic culture. And all because you get into this thing about that Rupa Goswami talked about a lot, the difference between principle and detail. So here's a detail that Prabhupada changed, because it's unheard of in Vedic culture to have brahmacharini ashram, lady ashrams. Unheard of like that. But Prabhupada created brahmacharini ashrams in the West because he saw two things. He saw, well, they deserve shelter too, first and foremost. But secondly, they were really enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. So fantastic, we're going to facilitate them. So he did that. He began the Sunday Love Feast. The Sunday Love Feast that's still going today. All started by Prabhupada. And since he started that, and of course everybody gets a free meal, prasadam at the end of the Sunday feast, and then we have many other Food for Life, Food for All, these different prasadam distribution programs. In our 50th anniversary magazine, which was 2016, so it's already 7 years ago, the calculation was that, and this was a conservative calculation, that devotees have now distributed over 3 billion free prasadam meals since the Iskcon started. 3 billion free meals. So that means there are still 5 billion people on this planet who haven't got a prasadam meal. So there's still lots of work to do. But still, 3 billion sounds good. He created, can you imagine, here's this, sadhu, incredible sadhu. I have to stop soon, don't I? Incredible sadhu, as we talked about at the beginning, who knows where Prabhupada came from. And I'm not going to get a chance to get into those quotes, but if we think of the Adamstanam Parichaja verse from the Padma Purana, where it says, I will leave this place, quoted 5,000 years ago, I will leave this place Vrindavan and travel to faraway lands to preach the glories of Bhagavatam. That part of the Padma Purana, the Bhagavad Mahatmam, is glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Prabhupada left India, no one had done it. That was quoted many, many thousands of years ago. That was Bhakti Devi speaking to Narada Muni. No one had done that since that was quoted all those thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago until Prabhupada came to the West. And what did he do? He left Vrindavan. That's what Bhakti Devi said, I'll leave Vrindavan. He left Vrindavan. He traveled to faraway lands, America, India, furthest apart on the planet. He traveled to faraway lands. And the only thing he brought with him, aside from some clothes, he would be in trouble if he didn't bring any clothes, aside from some clothes really, the only thing, and $7, the only thing Prabhupada brought with him of substance was a trunk of Srimad Bhagavatams. Quite incredible. That is just incredible. You've got a Shastric quote from the Padma Purana from thousands of years ago, I'll leave this place Vrindavan, travel to faraway lands to preach the glories of Bhagavatam. In 1965, Prabhupada left Vrindavan, traveled to faraway lands, and he brought many, many Srimad Bhagavatams with him. Just incredible. So, this incredible personality who was getting up 3 hours sleep a night, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to translate the ancient texts of Bhagavatam, etc. What else did he do? And this is in the Encyclopedia Britannica. He was the first person ever to start a chain of vegetarian restaurants. Just to throw that into the mix, You can clap for Prabhupada, no problem. I need to race through these now, right, because I should stop at 8. He spoke daily, every day, delivering thousands of lectures, and over 2,200 of those are recorded and archived so that we can still listen to them, which is another amazing thing. Jesus Christ came and went, and we have the first thing written about Christ in the Gospels was 30 years after he died, or left his body. Can you imagine, I tell you something now, just me and you in the room, and I tell you something. And then 30 years later, when we're both gone, someone else who might have just been at the door, and they think they heard what we said, and they say, I think so. Chinese whispers. It just gets stretched and changed and whatever. So we don't have the benefit of hearing Jesus Christ speak. We don't know if he said, was it blessed are the cheesemakers? we don't know what he said. That's what we're told he said. Not that actually. What did he say? Blessed are the what? Peacemakers, sorry, cheesemakers. Sorry, that was anyway, I won't get into it. But we don't know. Maybe he said blessed are the peacemakers, but maybe he said blessed are the cheesemakers. Because it's not recorded. But Prabhupada, 2,200 of his lectures are recorded, and some of them are also videoed, by the way, as well. He had hundreds and hundreds of conversations on the science of Krishna consciousness with disciples and other guests. He had hundreds of discussions with news reporters, scientists, religious leaders, politicians, and also with world-renowned people like Indira Gandhi, Allen Ginsberg, Ravi Shankar, John Lennon, George Harrison, all people like that. He recorded more than 20 albums of devotional music. which is probably more than the Beatles, isn't it? 20 albums of devotional movement, Prabhupada quoted. He published the monthly BTG, started that himself, of course, on the streets of Delhi in the 1944 or whatever it was. So he published the monthly BTG, and at its height, we don't focus so much on it now, it's more an internal magazine than an external magazine, but at its height of circulation in the mid-70s, over 1 million were being sold every single month, over 1 million of that magazine. He launched a life membership program, enrolling tens of thousands of members. He built major temples, Mumbai, Vrindavan, found a spiritual city at Mayapur, and that they are now all international sites of pilgrimage. I mean, Vrindavan now is a big problem for the Uttar Pradesh authorities because it's just too many people coming to Vrindavan, you know. That is all because of Prabhupada. Or you know, huge amount of that is because of Prabhupada, you know, because so many of the international devotees come there as on the basis of Iskcon. Established many schools providing education in Krishna consciousness. He founded the BI, the Bhaktivedanta Institute, to advance Krishna consciousness in the scientific community. He formed the Bhaktivedanta Swami Charity Trust to unearth and renovate the holy places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, particularly in, well, obviously in Mayapur, but also a little bit in Jagannath Puri, but mainly in Mayapur and Navadvip. And that's still going today. And that's one of the great collaborative efforts between Iskcon and all the Gaudiya maths in that region, you know, so it's a real source of unity rather than division. He set up farms. I mean, let's open a restaurant, let's open a farm, let's open a school, you know, temples, you know. All the while I'm getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning translating, you know, the ancient texts of you know, talk about multitasking, like just incredible. So he set up farms specifically to teach simple living, high thinking, to promote cow protection, living off the land, dependence on nature, dependence on God, like that, all of those things. He had his artist disciples produce hundreds and hundreds of beautiful Krishna conscious paintings that we still have. In fact, do we have one of the originals, Manu, or did we? No, okay, it's another story. Okay. We used to have one of the originals of the Panchatattva, right? Isn't that what we had?
One of the incarnations, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay. He set up the fate museums, had his disciples make the beautiful dolls. We even see those now, you know, the changing bodies or the karma one and all those kind of things. And then what I found quite amazing, that he instructed, advised, nurtured his disciples on such complex managerial issues, because a lot of these guys, and girls, but mainly guys, that were joining at that time, were coming from the hippie era, you know, and they had no experience in the world. In fact, they were more just rebellious to the whole world. So Prabhupada had to instruct them and guide them on how to run a movement, an international movement. So yeah, he did that, and he did it. Here's the amazing thing. He did that through personal meetings and letters. No mobile phones, no internet, no Zoom calls, you know, no WhatsApp groups to tell everybody what they should do at the same time. Nothing like that. He used the telephone sometimes, but that was actually quite rare. Prabhupada didn't like the telephone. He didn't really use it. So through personal meetings and through letters is how he did that. And now he has an international movement. And when he has to post a letter, when he's in Mayapur, he's asking his disciples, how much are the stamps now? Oh, they're 10 paisa. Oh, okay. When is Achyutananda next going to Calcutta? He's going in 2 days. Okay, I'll give Achyutananda the letter. He can bring it personally rather than me wasting 50 paisa on a stamp. And then when he would get letters himself, Prabhupada, he would take the letters out, he would get the letter opener, and he would open the envelope, and then he would put the envelope on his desk, and he would use the envelope as writing material. When I first joined the temple, my first night that I stayed overnight was in a place called Castlefield House, and I got up in the morning, 2 o'clock, same time as Prabhupada. I didn't do it willingly though. You know, we had the alarm set, and if you didn't get up, you know, you ran the risk of getting cold water poured in your ear or something weird like that. You know? Anyway, so got up, went into the bathroom, and I'm brushing my teeth, and I leave the tap running, which I had always done at home. You know, the devotee comes in after me, and they're going to brush their teeth as well. They lean over my shoulder, turn the tap off, and they say, "Prabhu, you're wasting Krishna's energy." So that example comes from Prabhupada, using the backs of envelopes to write on. You know, if everyone had Prabhupada's mentality, there would be no environmental crisis on this planet right now. You know, it just wouldn't exist. You know, if we had respected Krishna's energy and Krishna's resources. Okay, so he was the subject of over 30,000. I keep looking at this when he takes his phone out. Prabhupada was the subject of over 30,000 photos and more than 70 hours of documentary film footage. I'm sure that was an austerity for him. He wrote about 70 books. As I said, sleeping only a few hours a night. Usually his regular program was sleep at 11, up at 2. That was kind of his regular program. And many scholars and academics, educators, etc., they praised his work so much. And the Encyclopedia Britannica proclaimed that his voluminous Sanskrit translations and his lucid purports have astounded the literary and academic communities across the globe. Prabhupada was not trained in this. Prabhupada used to read his own books sometimes when they got printed and published. He would read his own books and he'd stop sometimes and look at his disciples and said, I didn't write this. You know, I didn't write this. I couldn't have written this. You know, meaning it's coming from Krishna. You know, Prabhupada wasn't trained in these things and all these, and he's getting all this incredible glorification. And then the other thing that's amazing about that is English was Prabhupada's second language. It wasn't even his first language. You know, could you imagine like me writing in Bengali? I mean, you know, kihoche. That's all I can say. Kihoche. You know, kodadaka. You have to know kodadaka. Okay. He founded the BBT to produce the books, etc. And by 2016, this is again in our anniversary, your 50th anniversary, over 516 million books had been produced, printed, etc. by the BBT. 516 million books. And Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is the most widely distributed Bhagavad Gita on the planet. And now we have them in over 50 languages, distributed in almost every country. And the BBT is actually the world's largest publisher of Vedic philosophy. And one printing alone of the Bhagavad Gita, it was such a big print run, just one printing alone of the Bhagavad Gita required 76 train carriages to carry the paper to the printers. 76 train carriages, right? 76 train carriages, all full of paper. You know, to print that run of the Bhagavad Gita. He completed the entire manuscript of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, I'm not sure exactly how long. That was quite short. But even it's within 18 months. So he translated the whole 17 volumes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita in 18 months. So basically 1 volume a month. Extraordinary. But then even more amazing was that he then supervised the BBT devotees to publish those 17 volumes in only 2 months. Excuse me, in only 2 months. Which you talk to any publisher, we're talking here about, first off, the volumes are each about that thick. We've got them here. I'm sure we've got the Chaitanya Charitamrita here. We can show you. But then there's all these beautiful color plates, color photos and pictures of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. You go to any publisher, and they will just consider that impossible to do. And actually the BBT devotees, that's what Prabhupada said, that's not possible, Prabhupada. And I think that's when Prabhupada first said, impossible is not a word in the Vaishnava's dictionary. Because they said it's impossible, Prabhupada, can't be done. And it was done. They did it, you know, just incredible. Then he circled the globe 14 times. He visited 24 different countries, obviously inspiring his followers, making countless public appearances before so many different people. And what was the only country, I've said this before, what was the only country who refused Prabhupada entry? Correct. Singapore. So we should boycott Singapore. Actually, we have a lovely yatra in Singapore, you know, led by a devotee, Devakinandan, very nice. He expertly managed his international society, as I said, just with letters and personal meetings. And in 1967, so he arrived in 65, so within 2 years, this is similar to the first person to start a chain of vegetarian restaurants. In 1967, Prabhupada started Spiritual Sky, an incense business, again to fund the movement, again not for himself of course, to fund the movement. And within 4 years of starting Spiritual Sky, it was generating $1 million a year. Now, if we translate that to now, that would be about $10 million a year. So he started a business that was generating $10 million a year, you know, within a few years, you know. So as I say, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, translating all the ancient texts, just absorbed in the spiritual message that is being descended down through the parampara. It's incredible. But then okay, that's over now. Have a bit of breakfast. Now I'll start, a multi-million business. I mean, it's just incredible. That's pretty much it. I've quoted the Adam Stanam Parichaja verse. The other one is the Ebe Nam Sankirtan verse, Tikshna Kadaya Laya. That this was spoken by Lord Chaitanya himself. And it's similar. This is amazing. So the first one, the Adam Stanam Parichaja, Li Vrindavan, go to faraway lands, preaching the glories of Bhagavatam, that was over 5,000 years ago. That was between Bhakti Devi and Narada Muni. Now here's Lord Chaitanya from 500 years ago. He says, taking the sharp sword of Nam Sankirtan, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all living entities. Just the sharp sword of Harinam Sankirtan. It's not literally a sharp sword, that's a previous era, when maybe on the battlefield of Kurukshetra we could have done that. But the sharp sword here is the chanting of the holy names. And that chanting of the holy names will root out the demoniac mentality that exists in the hearts of all living entities, including us. It's not that we go out to get rid of the anarthas. We do that to help other people be free of their anarthas, but also to free ourselves of those anarthas. And then it says, Yadi Papi Chadi Dharma Dura Desha Yaya Mora Sena Pati Bhakta Yaibe Tataya. If some sinful people, so this is so similar now to the first one 5,000 years ago verse, if some sinful people escape, because Lord Chaitanya is in India, he's in India, and that's where his mission has started. So he's saying, if some sinful people escape and go to far off countries, then my Sena Pati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. So this is just confirming the other exchange between Bhakti Devi and Narada Muni. Unbelievable. My Sena Pati Bhakta. So who is that saint commander-in-chief of Bhakti? Who is that? There is nobody. There aren't even any other contenders. Sometimes you might say, I don't know, we go back to the cricket analogy, we might say, who's the better cricket player, Sachin or Virat, And people have their opinions. It's Sachin, no, it's Virat or whatever. Or maybe Sunil Gavaskar, right? I mean, he was pretty good too. So people will have their opinions on that. But Prabhupada doesn't have any contenders because nobody actually even came to do this. He's the only one. There's just no doubt about it right now. So that's absolutely fantastic. And just now finishing, this is a quote from Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur left in 1896, right? He left in the same year that Prabhupada took birth, wasn't it? 1896. So he would have said this basically in the 1800s. So he had no idea about, who knows if he had an idea, sorry, I shouldn't say it like that, but my point is we had no idea, society had no idea because Prabhupada wasn't even born, So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, very soon the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, American and Irish people. Why didn't you say the Irish? No. So fortunate English, French, Russian, German and American people will take up banners, madongas and cartels, raising kirtan in their streets and towns. When will that day come? Well, that day came in 1965, 1966, and now it's continuing all the right, and now we're 2023. That's when the day came, and it all came because of Prabhupada's sacrifice. All because of his sacrifice. And, of course, standing on the shoulders of giants, he was standing on the shoulders of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, the six Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya, etc. But still, for us, it's all because of Srila Prabhupada. And let me just see a couple more. I won't go through all of these. This is a letter that Prabhupada wrote himself in 1967. So again, right at the beginning, really. And he wrote it to Nirpan Babu. I'm not even sure who Nirpan Babu was, but he wrote it to him. And he said, Prabhupada saying to Nirpan, please try to save the temple of Jiva Goswami, because in the very near future, many people from all parts of the world will come to see the temple and samadhi of Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. So he was writing this, that please protect those, these will be valuable, we'll be bringing people. And here's another one. Prabhupada got a horoscope done when he was a child. And he was in a conversation with his devotees one time, and he said, in my horoscope it was written, after my 70th year, this man will go outside of India and establish many temples. And then Prabhupada says, I could not understand, what is this, that I have to go outside India? And my Guru Maharaj foretold, he told my godbrothers, so Bhaktivedanta told his disciples, he'll do the needful when the time comes. Nobody requires to help him. He told that in 1935. And in the beginning, at my first meeting with Guru Maharaj, he said, you have to do this. And that's, as well as Prabhupada being compassionate to all the fallen souls, it was an instruction from his spiritual master. And then this gentleman, Mr. Rubin. Mr. Rubin was a subway, he worked as a conductor on the New York subway. And he would often see Prabhupada sitting in the park. When he would sit in the park as well for his lunch, he would often see Srila Prabhupada. So this is what Mr. Rubin said about Prabhupada. He said, he, Srila Prabhupada, seemed to know that he would have temples filled up with devotees. He would look out and say, I am not a poor man, I am rich. There are temples and books, they are existing, they are there. Just time is separating us from them. Again, this incredible conviction and vision. You know, oftentimes, you know, you try to do something and you get a few setbacks and you think, I'll give that up, I'm not bothered anymore, I just know that from my own life. So many times, so many things I would have liked to have done. You try to do them, you get pushed back, there's some issue comes up, some problem, some difficulty, couldn't be bothered. So here's Prabhupada, no, this is going to happen. And he hasn't got anything, he's just sitting on his own in a park in New York and he's just completely convinced that this is going to happen. And then here's just a few things from his own godbrothers. This return back to homeland of Srila Prabhupada, so this isn't his disciples, this is his godbrothers. This return back to the homeland of Srila Prabhupada is particularly significant because this time he comes back with a host of his Western disciples. This signifies to me the meeting of East and West, or at least the beginning of such a meeting. This signifies the victory of spiritualism over materialism, of good over evil. This is really a rare, rare moment in history. For the first time in the history of the world, for the first time, at least in living memory, Vaishnavism, the message of Vaishnavism, the message of Mahaprabhu, the message of devotion and of pure devotion has been carried to the West and carried so successfully. I am sure that historians of the future will have a lot to say about Srila Prabhupada and his movement, and they will be even envious of us for living in a time when this movement was begun and for participating in it. Now, what an incredible message for us. People will be envious of us in the future, that we benefited from Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice in his journey, and we became part of his movement and helped in his movement. It's such an honor and privilege for us to somehow, now Lord Chaitanya, mercy we know is causeless mercy, but it's such an honor and privilege for us to be able to actually be part of this incredible movement. You know, we're Prabhupada's foot soldiers. It's just incredible. So his godbrother, that was Dr. Kapoor in Vrindavan, he's making that point that people in the future will think, how fortunate was Sugati, how fortunate was Manu, how fortunate was Ashani, how fortunate was all of us sitting in this room, that we got the opportunity to actually be part of Srila Prabhupada. It's just such a blessing. Wonderful. Another short one. And what about the qualities he had? All devotional qualities he possesses, and that we can know him, that he is great only by preaching. Less than 10 years. There is no history, no recording anywhere. Preaching in 10 years, he has established this divine name everywhere, as is told in Mahaprabhu's predictions. And that was B.V. Puri Maharaj. And then the last one was Srila Prabhupada. A devotee asked him one time, one of his disciples asked him one time, Prabhupada, if Lord Chaitanya wanted Krishna consciousness in the Western countries, why didn't he go there himself? And Prabhupada said, so he left the credit for you and me. So that's it. We can take the credit of spreading the Sankirtan movement along with Srila Prabhupada and be part of this incredible mission that will go down in the annals of history forever and ever and ever. This movement will never ever be forgotten, you know, and it is only a matter of time before Prabhupada is particularly in India, but I would suggest outside of India too, we're working on it in the UK to some degree, that there will be shrines of Prabhupada in public places, just like we see on O'Connell Street here. Who's that man with their arms up? It looks like Lord Chaitanya. Is he? That's Larkin, is it? Larkin O'Connell, it's Larkin, is it? Okay. So there are going to be that type of memorials for Prabhupada in the future. You know, this movement will never ever... What happened here in 1965 was seismic, and it will never be forgotten. And also, the genie is out of the bottle. It can never be turned back. Prabhupada, when he left, there were 108 temples. Now we have over 1,000 temples, at least centers. Maybe they're not all, you know, whether you call this a preaching center or a temple, that's a discussion point. But we have over 1,000 Iskcon centers. So even though Prabhupada has left us, we have grown 10 times from what it was when Prabhupada left. So this is, the snowball is rolling down the hill. You cannot stop it. And it will get to a point where, you know, everybody, basically speaking, will have some understanding of Prabhupada and some understanding of Iskcon. And, you know, we may feel, because Iskcon now, we say we have about 10 million congregational members. Most of those, of course, would be based in India. It sounds like a big figure, but of course in the context of 8 billion people living on the planet, it's actually a very small figure, 10 million. But notwithstanding it, but never think that, oh, well, it's a big organization, there's loads of us, you know, I'd like it. Because devotees do say that. I know I've spoken to my own spiritual master about this actually on a few occasions. And, you know, he says he has to check himself sometimes because he will often think about the early days with Prabhupada in 26 2nd Avenue, when it was just Prabhupada and a handful of devotees, you know. But we shouldn't think like that, you know. Obviously those times would have been super sweet for those devotees that were there, but we're still pioneers here. There's very few of us, you know. Look at Ireland, you know, here we are in Ireland. I mean, how many people know about Krishna in Ireland? It's a fraction, a very, very small fraction of people like that. So we're in something very exciting. We're in the beginning of this Krishna conscious revolution that Prabhupada started in 1965, you know. So yeah, wonderful. So what can I say? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai! It's a bit late to ask the questions, I guess, Manu, is it? I don't know if anybody has a question they'd like to ask. Let's take at least one question then, you know, just if you have any question or comment, indeed. Anu Katpuru. Why do you want to?
Why does he want to build another temple? And the answer was that if you're married, you can have children. Why not have children? There's so many orphan children in India. Why do you say, well, why don't you have your own? They said, that's why I want to have a temple. We would like to have our own temple. Like you want to have your own children.
Yeah, and actually it's interesting. We're in Ireland, a Catholic country. I think in Dublin, maybe Jai Jagannath Manu can help me, but I think practically speaking, there's a Catholic church every kilometre. Practically every kilometre. You know, I think if I take the Malahide Road as an example, starting at Donnycarney. So you've Donnycarney, you've got a church there. Then at Griffith Avenue, only a kilometre away, you've got one on Griffith Avenue. Then you've got another one in Fairview, less than a kilometre. You know, so pretty much every kilometre in this city, you have a Catholic church. So we only have one centre. You know, we should have hundreds and hundreds of centres. You know, we should never really be satisfied. I remember years ago talking with some devotees in the UK, and the devotee who was in charge of the temple in London at the time said that he just said it casually, he didn't mean anything by it, but he just said that he's the temple president of London. And I said, no, but you're not the temple president of London. You're the temple president of Soho Street. You know, we want to have hundreds of temples in London. You know, we don't have one temple in Soho Street. So yeah, you know, again, it goes back to the point about there's so much work for us to do. You know, to have more and more places where people can come and gather and all of that. Okay. No other question or comments? We will finish. Thank you all very much indeed. What are we doing now, Manipur? Pushpanjali. Okay. Oh, Pushpanjali, of course, for Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Take this off now. So we're going to have Pushpanjali now. seems to be stuck here for
I
some
was
reason.
managing live from my phone. That's what I was doing.
No, I know. No. I was saying that Prabhupada had 30,000 photos, and you can imagine that sometimes is a bit of a hassle getting people clicking all the time. I was joking.
This one outside your pocket.
Oh yeah. Is it there?
Okay.
You there?
Yes.
Yeah. No. But we'll get one of the younger ones to do that. You don't want to. You might try to help lift me up, and I might pull your arm off. No, it's okay. It's okay. I just need to stretch my groin.
Somebody told me. I'll get it.
Okay, so we just do.
Who's singing?
No, come on, you're but we're just doing Prabhupada 3 times? Yeah. Nine throws, yeah. 9 throws. So keep them up to 9. So just a few petals each time after this. Thank you. Oh, I think we're okay. Oh, you want to play? Okay.
No. Prabhuji.
It'll be okay, but just I've never been supple. I went to a massage once with Matamongo, the two of us went, He's so supple. He's incredible. He was like, his legs flexible. Yeah, I've never been flexible. I should sit on this chair actually. Just oh dear. Okay. Is this gone? Oh, this gone. Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Hidaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Pushpanjali Nama Om Vishnu Hidaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Pushpanjali
Pushpanjali Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Goda Vani Pracharane Nivashesha Sanyavadi Paschata Desha Tarane Pushpanjali 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 Srila Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day Ki Iskcon founder Acharaya Srila Prabhupada Ki Go Premanandi. Oh, you nice.
The body of the Vedanta is
Yes.
Do you have an arty tray? Do you have an arty tray?
the body of the Vedanta, then it makes everywhere equal. But you can't eat. Yes. I don't know who put this, but if you
I'll get my accordion. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Namo Savadana Mate Namo Savadana Mate Yahara Prasadeva Bhavatori Krishna Prati Hoya Krishna Prati Hoya Guru Mukha Padma Bhakta Putatra Koriyata Guru Mukha Padma Bhakta Putatra Koriyata Anatari ho mano Anatari ho mano Jaya Krishna Prasaya Namaste Krishna Hare Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta, Acharaya, Store Thomas, Transit, Shishi, Madhus, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Iskcon Dublin, Acharaya, Srila Prabhupada ki, Untitled Chapter ki, Acharaya, Srila Haridas Thakur ki, hands of the whole Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath, Shamakund Radhakund, Kiri Govardhan ke, Vrindavan ke, Vayapurdam ke, Jagannath Puri Ram ki, Jamuna Maya ke, Ganga Maya ke, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhaktivedanta ke, Sri Ram Sankirtan Yajna ke, Sri Madonna Transcendental Book Distribution ke, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ke, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution on the Marathon December ke, glory to the Seven Devotees. Oh, glory to the Seven Devotees. Oh, glory to the Seven Devotees. Oh, glory to Shishi Guru and Shri Guru. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can see. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Ugram Veera Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityor Mrityum Namamyaham. Jai Narsimha Shri Narsimha Jai Jai Narsimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringam. Jai Narsimha Shri Narsimha Jai Jai Narsimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringam. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Narasimha
भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक लक्ष्मीपति नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्त शिरोमणि श्रील प्रहलाद महाराज की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।
कीर्तन तो कर सकते हैं और इस समय तो इतना हट कर ना इनका साइड जाके रहना और